Did you know that there are animals in the world that can be heard thousands of miles away? And what about monkeys that could have become metalheads? The incredible abilities of lions and bats that are louder than a fighter jet. Let's listen to them and check them out. In this episode, I'll show you the loudest animals in the world that will surprise you. Let's start with a creature that could potentially claim to be the loudest on the planet. Why potentially? Because its existence has not yet been confirmed, but it's also possible that such a creation exists. I'm talking about the bloop. This is how scientists named the mysterious and anomalous sound which was recorded in the Pacific Ocean in 1997. It was anomalous because it was recorded at a distance of 3,100 miles. As scientists say, this sound resembled the one made by whales or dolphins, but even if it were the largest whale of all time, it wouldn't be able to make such a sound. That's when theories began to be put forward that the sound was made by an unknown creature. It was called the bloop after the sound it made. According to theorists who made calculations, the bloop should be 650 to 1,000 feet long and make such a loud sound. I don't know whether it's a coincidence or not, but even some reputable oceanographers and travelers claiming they once saw something abnormal under the water, the size of which was baffling. Were they imagining? Or did they see that very bloop? It's unknown, and it's not clear what's even better. Well, now let's move on to the loud animals that definitely exist. And let's go in ascending order. First is the lion. The kings of the jungle have impressive vocal skills. Lions can hiss, bark, and even purr. But of course, their main sound is their trademark roar, which can be shocking. You bet, the powerful roar of the lion is spread across the savanna and can be heard up to 5 miles away. With its roar, the king of the jungle can easily frighten its enemies and make them freeze in terror. Lions also roar at male congeners which have a claim on something. In addition, roaring is used as a communication tool. By roaring, lions can mark the territory they occupy. In this way, they can make it clear where their pride is and also persuade other lions to stay out of their territory and occupy some other part of the savanna. This area, by the way, can be huge, up to 40 square miles or more. I forgot to mention that the lion's roar is about 114 decibels loud. This is comparable to the sound of thunder or very heavy traffic. The next animal in this episode has this figure of 120, which can be compared to the volume of a rock concert or an airplane at takeoff. And interestingly, this animal is dozens of times smaller than a lion. I'm talking about locusts. You've all probably heard these insects chirping. They do it loudly, so there's nothing striking about it. But it's still amazing when you find out what even a single locust can do. The loudest insects on the planet use a special sound membrane driven into oscillation by muscles. The resulting metallic sound resonates in special cavities inside the body and reaches an unusually high volume of sound. Often, the sound of locusts can be heard at a distance of over 1,300 feet. You may ask, why then can a lion be heard farther away if it roars quieter than a locust? It's all about frequencies. Locusts are very small insects that produce sounds at high frequencies. These frequencies are physically perceived quieter than the low roar of the king of the jungle, hence the difference in distance. What's also interesting is that locusts chirp mostly during the hottest time of the day, as heat is an important source of energy which the insects spend on singing. White bellbird. The sound of insects can be maddening sometimes, as can the sound of birds singing in the summer under an open window. I'm sure many of you are annoyed by it. And you're lucky if you don't live in South America, where white bellbirds live. They're the loudest birds in the world. Usually they do not sing without stopping. They destroy our ears with their sounds surgically at times. But this is not very pleasant either. And if there are a lot of white bellbirds, then their singing can really drive you crazy or make you lose your hearing, at least temporarily. Their volume is 125 decibels. By the way, such cries are made by the white bellbird during the mating period. This is how it tries to attract the attention of females and beat male rivals in vocal performance. The bird is small, about the size of a pigeon, but technically it screams louder than an airplane taking off. But how? It's all about the large lower larynx, developed abdominal muscles, strong ribs, and wide mouth. In addition, before starting to impress females, the white bellbird swallows air and inflates its throat, which allows it to increase the amplitude of sound. The same method is used by musicians playing wind instruments. Howler monkey. Since we're talking about music, this animal will be right on point. Only if the white bellbird is compared to a brass band, then the howler monkey is a typical metal band frontman. Just check out its growling and screaming. If you don't have a lead singer with a powerful voice for your band, why not use the services of these monkeys that live in Central and South America? Joking aside, the vocal abilities of howler monkeys are really amazing. The volume of their roars can reach 128 decibels. That's close to the threshold of intolerability. Howler monkeys have well-developed throat sacs, in which sound resonates perfectly. That's why they manage to produce such extreme vocals which can be heard at a distance of up to 3 miles. And that's without any microphones, unlike rockers. Usually, howler monkeys scream at dawn and dusk, as well as if they're disturbed. The loudest are males. Females also scream, but quieter and higher. As in the case of other animals, screaming is used as a means of communication or deterrence. But mostly these primates use their shrill roars to warn others of their location and to avoid territorial conflicts. What do we know about bats? That they live in caves, sleep upside down, and fly spookily in the sky, right? I think everyone knows that, but far fewer people know that among bats there are some of the loudest animals in the world. I'm talking about bulldog bats. They're also called fishing bats. They live in South America. These bats are small, weighing less than 3.5 ounces, plus they're barely over 4 inches long, but they scream so loud. According to various sources, the volume of their sounds ranges 137–188 decibels. That's the volume at which fighter jets fly. Also about the volume at the epicenter of a fireworks explosion. Fortunately, nature has taken pity on South Americans, otherwise they would all have gone deaf long ago. Still remember that thing about frequencies? There it is again. Bulldog bats scream very loudly, but they produce sounds at an extremely high frequencies of 20 kilohertz and higher. The human ear can't pick up those sounds. At most, we'll be able to hear some crackling if we put the bat to the ear or put a microphone to it. And that's just the lower range of its vocal range. These bats use these sounds for echolocation, like other bats. It helps them track each other, analyze space, and find fish in the water. The second name of the animals speaks vividly about their dietary preferences. Most animals use their loud sounds to communicate with each other or to scare enemies away. The pistol shrimp is a different story. It uses its loudness to destroy its opponents. The fact is that the pistol shrimp is an amazing sniper. The name fits the creature just perfectly. One of its claws actually works on the principle of a pistol. The shrimp clenches and unclenches its claw and does so with incredible speed. As a result, the animal shoots at the enemy with a jet of hot water at a speed of 62 miles per hour. The water becomes hot because the insane speed makes the snap cause a flash of light and heats up the claw to 9,032 degrees Fahrenheit for a moment. That's 4 to 5 times hotter than lava. At the same time, the ultra-fast shot is accompanied by a sound, just like a real gun. At the moment, the volume of the shrimp shot reaches 200 to 210 decibels. This volume, combined with the shot, stuns the opponent, and the arthropod easily eats it. Also, by such tricks, the pistol shrimp can drive predators away. And finally, the leaders in terms of loudness in the animal world. Many of you have been waiting for them, and yes, they are whales, of course. In general, all whales are loud in one way or another, but I'll tell you about the loudest of them. The first one is the blue whale. Everything's kind of logical here. This is the largest animal on the planet. It has an incredible mass, insane length, gigantic organs, and therefore its voice should be phenomenal by default. It is. The volume of the blue whale's sounds can reach up to 188 decibels. Our ears are saved by 2 factors. Firstly, blue whales scream deep underwater, where their sound is spread over a distance of more than 930 miles. Secondly, it's the good old frequencies again. Blue whales scream and cry at quite low frequencies. Our ears can hear them, but we still don't go deaf. It would be much worse if blue whales were to roar at middle frequencies. By the way, scientists do not fully understand why blue whales produce calls, whether to exchange information or to warn of danger or just for communication and acquaintance. Well, another whale, the sperm whale, is considered the absolute world leader. This huge creature, with a giant head, screams at a volume of 236 decibels per micropascal per meter. Interestingly, the sounds of sperm whales are different. They can roar and sing, or they can click, and it sounds unusual and very loud, at least for other sperm whales, which are guided by the sounds of their congeners. From the loudest animals, I suggest moving on to the rarest. Stay tuned. The rarest and most unusual red animals in the world are waiting for you next. Red lory. Let's start with a very beautiful parrot. The red lory lives in the Malay archipelago in South Asia, where it can be found in tropical forests. There, this red-haired bird feeds on flowers, pollen, fruit, nectar, and insects. Red color is the most common among representatives of the species, but it's not easy to find completely red lories. More often they have inserts and flecks of blue, purple, or black. Like other parrots, the red lory can be taught to speak. You certainly won't get bored with it because the red lory is a playful, bright, and theatrical feathered creature. In South Asia, some people keep it as a pet. Madagascar tomato frog. That's when the name speaks for itself. While most common frogs settle for the traditional green color, this amphibian from Madagascar is as red as a tomato. Not only does this color look epic, but it also serves an important function. It warns potential predators that the prey in question is inedible. And it's not a bluff. When in danger, the tomato frog releases a toxic and sticky substance. It can glue the jaws of the predator and cause an allergic reaction in humans. Better not to eat such tomatoes. Siamese fighting fish. The next animal in the episode is interesting for several reasons at once. First, it's a fish of unusual red color. However, there are also other colors, but today we're interested in red creatures. Secondly, it has an interesting voile tail plumage and long fins, which distinguish the Siamese fighting fish from many other aquatic inhabitants. But most importantly, these fish got their name for a reason. They really fight and have fights with each other. Some biologists even consider the Siamese fighting fish the most aggressive fish in the world, and even the most aggressive representatives of the fauna in general. In Asia, these fish are still sometimes bred specifically for fighting, like some fighting dogs or roosters. However, most of the time these fish are not bought for that, but so they can create beauty and comfort in the house and please the eye. Red scorpionfish. If the Siamese fighting fish is only dangerous to other fish, and above all to its own congeners, then this creature is also a danger to humans because it's venomous. Not for nothing, it's called a scorpion, right? The red scorpionfish lives near the seabed, where it merges with the environment and stalks its prey, mainly other fish, crustaceans, and mollusks. Numerous spines located on the body of the scorpionfish have venomous glands. To be pricked by them is quite painful, but people are not confused by this, and they actively catch this dangerous fish in the Atlantic Ocean. Blood red glider. I bet you've never seen a butterfly with such a bright color. There are many beautiful individuals among these insects, but the blood red glider is especially beautiful. These amazing creatures belong to the Nymphalidae family and live in Central America. The butterflies of this species are not very well studied, but we can say for sure about their color. The dorsal part and wings of the blood red glider are colored red, while the color of the abdominal side varies from olive to grayish or brown shades. Scarlet ibis. This amazing bird can be found in the north of South America, from Venezuela and Guyana to Brazil and the island of Trinidad. The scarlet ibis, or the guara, is interesting because it's literally completely red, which is unusual even for other red animals. As a rule, all the plumage and legs of the bird are colored bright red. At the same time, males and females look the same, which can cause confusion even among scientists. The bird is also a full-fledged national symbol. The scarlet ibis is depicted on the coat of the arms of Trinidad and Tobago, which is located in the Caribbean Sea. Next to the ibis on the coat of arms, there's the cacrico, another national bird of the state. Red velvet mite. As a rule, mites are black or gray. In addition, they're also small, which makes them very difficult to see in thickets. The red velvet mite, on the other hand, is a completely different story. Due to the fact that it differs from its mite relatives by its bright orange-red color, it's almost impossible not to notice it. Plus, it looks more like a small spider than a mite. The red velvet mite is an active predator when mature, while when young, it parasitizes on other insects and even some spiders. Northern cardinal. If you've played Angry Birds at least once, you're definitely familiar with the next animal of this episode. The northern cardinal, named Red, is the main character of this game. The bird is also known as the common cardinal or the red cardinal. Like the scarlet ibis, the red cardinal is a symbol, but not of a country. It's a symbol of 7 states in the USA. In fact, the red bird is found there, but it can also be found in Canada, Mexico, and even in Guatemala. The red cardinal impresses by its beauty and richness of color. The males are more colorful than the females. The females have a more modest coloration, so ornithologists and fans of exotic value the males more. They're ready to pay a lot of money to purchase this feathered creature. The price for one bird can reach $800. Cherry shrimp. Who would have thought a shrimp could be unusual and interesting? The cherry shrimp is a variety of freshwater shrimp from Taiwan, as well as some provinces of mainland China. Cherry shrimp have recently become very popular with aquarists. They're often kept at home. They're not fastidious in food, they're easy to look after, and most importantly, they look very unusual. Red panda. Everyone knows about the common giant pandas, but in addition to them, there are also red pandas. Otherwise, they're called lesser pandas. If I can put it that way, these creatures can be called more authentic pandas than the giant black and white ones, because if those belong to the bears family, then these belong to the Aluridae, or the true panda family. Red pandas are like a combination of a fox, a cat, and a bear. They have a very unusual appearance, which is also complemented by an incredible color. Red pandas are small, they weigh about 11 to 13 pounds, and are about 20 inches long. In general, they do not differ much from domestic cats in terms of size. By the way, they have something else in common with domestic cats, a thick and fluffy tail. Red pandas often use it as a blanket to keep themselves warm. Red color in animals looks very cool, but in the world you can find other creatures with unusual colors. I suggest you take a look at them. Keep watching to see a Spider-Man lizard, an albino zebra, and a yellow penguin. Spider-Man lizard. Actually, this lizard is called the Mwanza flat-headed rock agama, but it would be much better to name it after the famous superhero. Firstly, it's easier, and secondly, just look at it. This lizard is a real Spider-Man. Its color matches the Peter Parker costume. It feels like this lizard is about to finish its business and fly to save New York City from criminals. If so, it'll take a long time to fly since these reptiles live in Africa. There, they bask in the sun, feed on locusts, grasshoppers, and worms, and are often kept as pets. Surprisingly, these creatures are very docile, tame, and live a good life in captivity. Albino zebra. I think everyone knows what albino animals are. These creatures are usually completely white. But what would an albino zebra look like? Is it also completely white? Not exactly. It looks as if it has just lost its saturation. It still has stripes, but they're not black. It's as if nature didn't have enough paint to make them stand out and be really dark. Although albino zebras look unusual, there are few advantages of such a feature. First, zebra stripes play an important protective role. They confuse predators and often keep many blood-sucking insects away from zebras. For this reason, albino zebras may be more vulnerable. Second, such animals are vulnerable in general. It's harder for them to hide from predators, they're affected more by sunlight, and it's harder for them to find a mate. And most importantly, they have a weak immune system, which means they die from various diseases more often than others. Yellow penguin. Next, we have one of the rarest animals in the whole world in general. This yellow penguin caused quite a sensation when it was seen and filmed in Antarctica several years ago. By the way, it was the first time anyone saw such a penguin at all. Before that, scientists could only guess about the existence of such an individual. This penguin is distinguished from its usual black and white congeners by its yellow look. In general, emperor penguins have yellow elements of their bodies, for example the collar. However, this individual retained the yellow feathers and lost all the dark ones. Scientists still don't understand what caused such a color, but according to one theory, it's about leucism, a disease in which animals partially lose pigmentation of the outer coat. Unfortunately, as in the case with the albino zebra, the penguin's unique appearance does not play into its hands. The yellow color is too noticeable for predators and unattractive to the opposite sex. Whale. Everyone knows that whales are the largest animals in the world at the moment, but not everyone knows that whales are the largest animals ever in all of history as a whole. At least in terms of weight, they've never been equaled. The Antarctic blue whale is the largest of all its congeners. This blue whale subspecies always amazes people with its incredible size. Even ordinary individuals of this subspecies can grow up to 100 feet in length and weigh more than 150 tons. But there are also certain individuals which surpass everyone in general. An individual that was photographed relatively recently can be called the largest whale, as well as the largest animal in history. I'm talking about the blue whale, which was seen in September 2012 off the coast of Australia. They had time to catch it on camera, and on the basis of these materials, scientists concluded that the giant weighed more than 200 tons. This is the absolute record among all whales on the planet. As for length, the record holder is a female blue whale, which was found by whalers in 1926 near the South Shetland Islands in Antarctica. At that time, whaling was not yet illegal, so they were able to properly measure the female. Its length was 110.1 feet. Interestingly, there were longer animals in history, but you'll learn more about them later. In the meantime, let's take a look at the main modern giant of the land, the African bush elephant. This is the largest land mammal. It's normal for elephants of this species to grow up to 10 to 13 feet in height, 20 to 23 feet in length, and weigh about 5 to 6 tons. Even this is very impressive, but it's not the limit. In 1974, for example, hunters shot an African bush elephant in Angola, which weighed 12 tons. Unfortunately, there's no footage of this record breaker, or it hasn't survived. But we can imagine what it looked like. It looks like this to me. Even from a distance, this big creature looks very big, and when it gets close to the car, it's really scary. I think it might well weigh 12 tons or even more. Apparently, this elephant is old, which means it's gained a lot of mass over its long life. Giraffe. This is another famous African giant. Giraffes are not as massive as elephants, but they're very tall. Even at birth they are. A newborn baby, if it can be called such at all, is already about 6 feet tall and weighs 110 pounds. When the giraffe grows up and becomes a full-fledged adult, its height is about 13 to 16 feet. But there have been larger creatures, for example, the amazing giraffe named George. As you can see, feeding him was not an easy task. George, kept in Chester Zoo in England, was 19 feet tall, and according to some reports, he was even taller, more than 20 feet tall. It's said that George was rather cheeky and a hooligan. He took advantage of his height and took off hats from visitors when they approached his enclosure. The current record holder is also impressive. It's a male named Forrest, who lives at the zoo in the Australian state of Queensland. 3 years ago, he got into the Guinness Book of World Records for his incredible height. The measurement procedure was not an easy one. In order to understand exactly how many inches a giraffe had, a special measuring pole was set up near the place where he fed, and Forrest was photographed against it for several months. As a result, they came to the conclusion that his height was 18.7 feet. That's very impressive. Let's go back to the sea, where you can find quite a few other big animals besides whales. Sharks immediately come to mind. If we talk about predatory sharks, they're not the largest in the world. This is understandable because with huge size, it would be very difficult for them to hunt. Nonetheless, there are record breakers among them. For example, a female great white shark named Deep Blue, who has already become a legend among divers. First of all, it's because she's not aggressive. She often allows divers to swim next to her and actively pose for the camera. Secondly, Deep Blue gained fame because of her incredible size. Scientists believe that this is the largest great white shark in the world. At the moment, she is 21.9 feet long and weighs 5,511 pounds. It's not even surprising that many people consider it a direct descendant of Megalodon. Thanks for watching. What impressed you the most in this episode? Let me know in the comments and subscribe to the channel.